Hello, this is Caroline.
Welcome, welcome. This is Erakali Bunyoro in the Diaspora. This is the voice of Bunyoro. Thank you for tuning in and good evening, all of you. Nkabulikiro Caroline Ajuna Kibuka Atenyi, Ninyowa host to this amazing show. Voice of Bunyoro in the Diaspora is sponsored or supported by BKD UK and Rise Up Community Inclusion. Ninyenda kubajukia mukake nti Erakali Bunyoro in the Diaspora will be presented in two languages. That is Runyoro and English. Runyoro is the language spoken by the people from Bunyoro, and Bunyoro is found in the western part of Uganda. Nyenda also at the moment, I want to take this time to send our sincere condolences and sympathies to all those who have lost their beloved ones in the past week. And our dear prayers and thoughts go out to our sisters and brothers in Tanzania who are mourning the loss of their president, Dr. John Magufuli. And we are with them at this time. In this time, it is a dark time for the country, and we are actually sending our prayers and our thoughts to them, and may the souls of the departed rest in peace. I just want to ask all our viewers and listeners to take a 1 minute of silence to remember our brothers and sisters who have departed away from us, and especially to put Tanzania and Africa at large, because we've lost a great son. May we take a minute of silence in remembrance of Dr. John Magufuli, the late president of Tanzania, Republic of Tanzania. May his soul rest in peace. With that message, I just want to ask our viewers and listeners to take a break, relax, and listen to this amazing song, Kataito by rapper Diko, and we'll be back after that, we'll be back with our guest online, and we'll begin the show. Mutyo muno Abanyoro n'Abanyoro Kati and friends of Bunyoro, listen to this amazing song. It's not our song, but it is the works of rapper Dick, who is a great musician, and he comes from Bunyoro, and all the copyrights are reserved to him. David King, also a great musician, will features in this song. Mwebale muno, katunyumirwe akazina.
Rock Deacon. Just a little distance. Seven King. I'm about to get there. Collabo thanks. Igni family. I come from media. Mass profels. Real power. Party base. Bless them. Kasika ireka taito. Just the gun to kataito. I'm about to get there. Never said it. Abojo magambe nkuija. Itwena tugire biroto, itwena twitara tutera mu bufoto, turota future nkoto, wowe n'abalogi turuge mu ghetto, kuragura ati hasigaye yo kataito, oruge musapaka twale nkaito, tandika na kendo bongo niyo capital, kongo die, ever niyo moto. Kataito, kulema seri, kataito, ndi haikuwa kwangu, one step, just a little distance, one step, ndi haikusingura, just began to kataito, kabibe bisebuzebu nja kusingura, nkuru kusiwa ninyolekera leve mpyaka, nkubana wumana count down in 3, 2, 1, pecho, ena kuyange giragireira, ena masika gange ngaragireira, bye bye, ndi hanu katano ho, nkulebe kerere somaiso, one step, asikaire kataito, nkulebe seri, kataito, doesn't matter who you are. Just some faith in God. Faith in God. Just a little faith in it. Come on. Uraza tapowe kumafanya kazi. Urasanga jamu toza pasi pasi. Abenuku babasoma indigelesi. Kolera hapesi ya watabita mufosi. Urabile mbingi tatwa na ikesi. Tibiangu hile keko kiwa kukosi. Teka hopese kambu ya majasi. Otakankane mbera ketere biasi. Osembera kibenda success. Those are the fruits of persistence. Mbera kebe kambu ya kayasi. Otakankana one day you will blast. Kataito, kataito. Kwesinga. Kataito. Could never say one step, one step. Just a little step like this. One step, one step. Something is about to happen. Kataito, kataito.
Ako niko kazina kakuruga owa rapper Deacon, and as nkomugambire muzini waitu wamani wa Bunyoro kandi mwongere kugenda ni mumuhuliza n'obuzina bwe bwingi obwateire kandi tuina kusupporting a music yo waitu, and David King features in the song as well. And as I said, the copyrights are reserved to those two. It's not our music. We're just playing it for the purposes of entertaining you people who are watching us tonight on this show. Mwebale muno kumpuliriza Abanyoro n'Abanyoro Katan, friends of Bunyoro. Thank you so much once again for tuning in. Hierarchy ya Bunyoro in the diaspora. As usual, it's Caroline Ajuna Kibuka Atenyi, the host of this amazing show. Ninyenda kubaijukya mukake. I want to remind all of you that of today's topic, and it is developmental leadership traits and concepts, focusing on setting up social enterprises and leadership trait tips. If we are able to catch time, we'll be talking about leadership tips that our amazing guest will be telling us about tonight. Allow me with that little introduction, and allow me to invite our amazing guest who is here today all the way from Birmingham. Of course, he's not with us in the studio, but he's on live and you can see him right now. I will ask him to introduce himself. For those of you who do not know him, he's been on the show before, but I'll just ask him to introduce himself again to all of you again. Abwooli, webale muno kuikiriza kuija kuba hamu naitu hana once again on the Hierarchy ya Bunyoro in the diaspora. Thank you for giving us this opportunity and for accepting our invitation once again. I personally, as Caroline, the host, I am privileged to be talking to you, and I just want you to introduce yourself so that our viewers come to connect with you and know you better. Otyo muno Abwooli, webale muno kankuhe omukisa gunu webazeho ogambira aba viewers baitu kikikyoli, and then we'll start with the talk of today or tonight.
Okay, Otiomuno, Caroline, for the benefit of my colleagues, some of them are logged on here, and some of the people I represent or I mentor who don't necessarily understand the language of my birth, which is Bunyoro. I'm just greeting you. I will introduce myself in Bunyoro that I'm extremely fluent in, but majorly I will speak in English for your benefit and for the benefit of everyone who would benefit from this show or what I present. So first, my introduction in Bunyoro, the language of my birth. Mabaragange ne nyowe Patrick, Dedo, Byekya wa Byekya, Kwesinga Abwooli. Nzarwa Masindi hali hamutano gwa Kinogozi na Karujubu mu Uganda. Emirimu yange nkora very quickly to to try and kind of, should I say, to speak here. So in the United Kingdom, I am the founding chair of our Roots CIC, and now the soon to launch our Roots Community Foundation. Our Roots CIC has got a 1.5 million annual turnover, and I'm the Chief Operating Officer of the Living Well Consortium, where I mainly sit in the day-to-day operations, which is a £4 million turnover organization. I am the initiator of a well-being service at another social enterprise community interest company known as Health Exchange, which I started with zero income. This specific service for Health Exchange, of course, Health Exchange is another about 3 million turnover organization, but the mental health and well-being service, when I started, was having zero income, but then now is able to bring a turnover for Health Exchange of 550K, just that one service. And very quickly, when I was in Uganda, I founded, and still that organization is there, Massey Ferguson Motors, agricultural and spare parts for tractors. Also the founding director of Kora. Kora is Kitara Outreach to Rural Agriculture is there, and among other small kind of personal enterprises, I owned KK and Pearl Club. Of course, I am a former director of Bunyoro Kitara Development Foundation in Uganda, and I was a cultural secretary of Bunyoro Kitara Student Association in Makerere. That's the kind of quick profile I can give about myself as an intro.
Okay, so Mr. Dedo, yeah, that is who and what you are now that you're describing to us, our viewers. And I heard last week, last time when you were in the view on air, one of our viewers actually wanted you to talk about the Bunyoro Kitara foundation or Bunyoro Kitara development that you started, and you were so disappointed that you were not able to talk about that because he told me you are the founder of that association in Uganda. Could you tell us more about that association? Because this Voice of Bunyoro in the Diaspora is all about talking about the things that are happening in our motherland in Bunyoro. The Bunyoro Foundation, Bunyoro Kitara, that you founded in Uganda.
Probably to correct the impression, I did not found it, but there is a point when somehow it had gone dormant. Myself and a few other colleagues revived it. So I did not found it, and I was not even the chair, but I was a director of Bunyoro Kitara Development Foundation. Actually, with due respect, the current Prime Minister of Bunyoro Kitara Kingdom was also co-director as I am of Bunyoro Kitara Development Foundation. So I wasn't necessarily a founder, but I was involved in the revival and making it robust and being able to offer and deliver some of the things that it delivered, including bringing up a few leaders, social entrepreneurs, and business people, and also supporting a number of schools and community-based organizations.
We are having a great man here speaking to us who has been a co-director of Bunyoro Kitara Development Association, which brings together all the Bunyoro in Uganda. And I think that's where we could have got even this concept of starting of those who founded Bunyoro Kitara Development Association here in the UK could have also started it on the basis of the one that was in Uganda. So how then do you get this? I know you went to tell us about the traits of leadership, but what drives you in doing all these things? Because you've just told us a number of things that you have, that you are heading. You're currently the chair of our Roots, which is doing amazing work in the Midlands. So how do you get the energy and how it drives you to do all these things, Mr. Dedo, if I may ask?
Probably, if I know we've got a title for this show or for this series, but in other words, I would say my story. And my story on becoming a social entrepreneur, and of course, bringing in a community leadership skills and developmental leadership traits and concepts. You know, whatever we do, and going back to the mindset, last time I was here, we spoke about the mindset. Our mindset or everything that we do in life is premised on three things. Only three things. The conscious, that is, you are absolutely and 100% aware of what you do. You can account for everything that you do, and you know why you do it. And some of the key principles that you derive what you do from. So you are consciously aware. It is like when you wake up in the morning, you are consciously aware you've got to get out of your bed and throw the blanket or the duvet there off yourself and get up and go to shower. So consciously aware. The second layer that drives whatever we do is the things we put in the subconscious. These are things that you can borrow from at any given time, at the slightest tickle, at the slightest remembrance, you go in your very near chamber and get these things and use them to do whatever you do. So that is the subconscious. And of course, there are then so many things that we keep in the third layer, which is the unconscious layer. These are things we have learned over time and even probably forgotten, but we find ourselves one way or the other using them to inform whatever you do. So I'm no different from everyone else. I borrow from those three layers to be able to do whatever we do. And that's why when we are going to go to a few things or a few concepts and traits that I personally have got to be reminded of, that everyone else should be reminded of. And these will give me a deliberate effort to do whatever I do. For example, I can very quickly say, today, before I came to this show, actually, if I came to this show, I was in a church service. Before I came to a church service, I did something very strange. But that has got a long-lasting legacy, a long-lasting impact in the children that I support. I run a writing and reading club for the children every Friday as part of our Roots. Now, last Friday, we were in this reading and writing, and now we were remembering every aspect of what a child had written, so their story. And then I was convinced, of course, by what I remembered. But also the young children, by the way, I'm talking about children aged 8 to 12 years that are involved in this. So then we asked, who authored this piece of writing? And then we started giving names. But what we were looking for was the exact names of the person that had written it.
So what is this that you are trying to get out of the children's? Is it the subconscious or the unconscious layer?
That drive me, and some of the things that make me do what I do, and of course, like any other person. So we said, or actually I said, now whoever wins this, I mean, the loser of this small question that everyone was answering, the loser will prepare something homemade, okay, and take it to the winners. Actually, I lost. So I had to prepare today I made homemade popcorns and drove them. It took me 3 hours. I was not prepared for this, but because I had lost, I had to honor the agreement with the children and take to their 5 different homes and deliver these popcorns. I left whatever I was doing. I will tell you what some of the things I was doing, money generating things. I left them. I decided to honor what I promised. So that in itself, being able to honor the things that we do as leaders is very important. And in one of the traits, probably, that I will talk about is a leader being a fountain of honor. And that's what I was trying to bring out. You cannot be a leader, an effective leader, when you don't honor things. So a leader must be a fountain of honor.
Going to talk about the traits towards the end. Can we just focus on the social enterprise? Because most of our viewers and listeners are really actually interested in knowing more about the social enterprise. After, as you had introduced them in your last talk, they want to know more about them. So just tell us more about social enterprise, and we probably will talk about the setting ups of these amazing enterprises before we go off for a break.
Yeah, that's fine. So if you were to start a social enterprise, and here I have prepared from 2 kind of settings. Mm-hmm. And a social enterprise in Uganda, and of course, predominantly Africa, they would adopt a similar kind of approaches. Now, if you were to set up a social enterprise in the UK, it is relatively easy, actually. And social enterprises would come in through a number of ventures. So it could be a company limited by guarantee. Actually, that's one of the main ones. And by the way, it can also be a company limited by shares with share capital. But the shares that go or the dividends that go to shareholders are somehow capped. You know, it cannot be elastic like it is a private company. So there is a company limited by shares. The main one is company limited by guarantee, which is straightforward. And you can also be a sole trader, by the way, as long as what you are doing is for the benefit of society, or is a social enterprise, and you have got structures, standards, and protocols that ensure that you are not exploiting the main objectives of what would be a social enterprise, for private gain. Now, in one of the trades, again, we will talk about the structures. That's another very important thing you must have if you have to be a successful social entrepreneur, and anyway, if you have to be a successful leader. So, you would set up a company limited by guarantee, and the main one is a community interest company anyway, so it is called community interest company or CIC, and you would need to know what you want to do, and get the aim and objectives of the organization you're setting up. You, of course, preliminary considerations, some of the things you may want to be involved in, and the people you may want to involve. Then you get your objectives, and then you have a constitution, and you can have a bespoke, ready-made articles of association or constitution. You can get this on a CIC or company's house. So setting up a CIC, you just go and do that. But of course, if you want it a more complex one with a lot of objectives and a lot of clauses, then you cannot use the CIC template. You will need to either involve a solicitor, but not necessarily. The people that can help and support, I can do that. And there are some organizations that are set up to help and support setting up of social enterprises. For example, in Birmingham, and there's so many equivalencies in other cities, we have got ISE, Initiative of Social Enterprise. This one helps people initiate social enterprises. You then must have the governance, the right governance in place, including structures. This we'll talk about them in leadership traits. You will then have to know that you don't get profits and share these profits. You get surplus and plow it back into the organization to generate more work, more businesses, and develop the community that you do support. But much as you don't necessarily earn profits and share profits, you earn a salary for social enterprises or community interest companies, which is a little bit different from a charity. You have to follow stringent kind of rules and governance structures to earn from a charity. Actually, trustees don't necessarily earn from charities, but for CIC, social enterprises, you are able to work for it and earn a salary and get a bonus and get allowances, as long as everything is accounted for. And of course, if you were to wind up as a social enterprise, and mainly a CIC, you don't take your things. You have to share, not share, you've got to transfer them to another similar kind of organization. And it is actually even embedded in the governance or in the constitution. They call this assets lock. The assets are locked to ventures that are of a social enterprise or community interest nature.
My director is telling me we've got to go for a break. I just want to tell our viewers Mr. Dedo's report or script that he's working on today will be probably published, or I'll ask him to give us a copy, and we publish it on our website, the Bunyoro Kitara Development Association website, since they support this Voice of Bunyoro on in the diaspora, so that for all those of you who want to know more about these enterprises that he's talking about, will read more about them. This is a 1 hour 1-hour show. He cannot explain everything, and we need to work on time with time, and we only have 1 hour strict to do this show. So we are going to take a break. We will be back, and probably Mr. Dedo, you can still continue telling us about the closing of social enterprises that you were starting to talk about before we came in. So let's go for a break. We're going to play you a video clip that is done by the children in our roots that Mr. Dedo leads or directs our roots. We'll be talking about or playing a song or a video about a kilare, and then we'll return after the break. Mutyo muno Abanyoro n'Abanyoro kati. Thank you so much for all of you who are still with us, who have joined us on this show, and we'll be returning after the commercial break and enjoy our roots children with this amazing clip that they are playing. Mutyo muno, enjoy it. We'll come back after the break. You're welcome back from the commercial break. It's Caroline Ajuna Kibuka Atenyi Omuzirakati wa Hoima, the host of this amazing show. Abwooli webaleyo mukuhumura egyo niyo clips zaitu tusoboire kurora from the choir of our roots children. I think I'm sure our viewers have enjoyed watching those clips. Hati Mkulu Dedo, just we need to summarize, talk very fast on these points of how they close social enterprises because we only have 30 minutes for this show. Otyomuno, you are still continuing to explain how we do close social enterprises, and thereafter I will acknowledge some of our viewers after you have talked about the closure, and we will continue with other questions. I hand over to you now.
Saying, and I think the closer is simple actually, because and more especially a CIC community interest company is closing, or when you finish trading for whatever reason and probably you've got assets, there is an asset lock clause which stipulates that you cannot take these things for your private gain. Even if it was a building, you're not gonna say Dedo Patrick Kwesinga is going to take it, or any of the directors. You have got to transfer it to another organization of similar objectives and any other assets that you may have. That's why it is called assets lock. That's as simple as that. Probably what I'd also wanted for the benefit of the people of Bunyoro and Uganda, as well as Africa, is how you start a social enterprise in Uganda. And social enterprises in Uganda may take different kind of concepts. There is NGOs. They are somehow ambiguous. NGOs, of course, they would get international aid or governmental support, but they can also trade. And that's how they may be social enterprises. But the classic ones, social enterprises, would be companies limited by guarantee. In Uganda, they are also there as well as it is in the UK. So you can set up a company limited by guarantee, or you can have an NGO with a subsidiary of a company limited by guarantee if you wanted it that way. Same as you'd have a charity here and you have a trading arm or a company, again, limited by guarantee. That's what is the trend mostly. So you can't have it in Uganda. Another good one, and more especially for communities, and probably that I might personally encourage for grassroots communities, is what is known CBOs, community-based organizations. These mainly would do business or support communities at sub-county level, at local level. And I think when you start this for the youth, for women, for musicians at local basis, at local level, I think it would kind of generate some good work and employment and involvement. So you can do that. And in Uganda, the best way of registering a social enterprise is predominantly, mainly, by contacting a lawyer, also known as a solicitor. It's not very expensive to get a solicitor or a lawyer to do this. That would be the best thing because of the kind of bureaucracy and technicalities involved in Uganda. That would be my suggestion. And in order to do that, more especially for a CBO, community-based organization, you will need a constitution, of course. That would be the kind of articles and memorandum of association, a recommendation from a sub-county chief or a non-governmental organization, a monitoring committee. So either of the two, a work plan, some kind of business plan, or some kind of proposal of what you're going to do, not very complicated, and you may have to pay some prescribed fee. That would be there, some nominal fee that you go to pay in order to register this. So that's what I wanted to say for Uganda, how you start a social enterprise.
You've told us about the social enterprises in Uganda. My next question will be about UK, because we also need, there are people here in the community who live in the UK on how to start these social enterprises. But however, before you tell us about the UK ways or how to set up social enterprises here, I just want to acknowledge some of our viewers and see if they have questions of so far what you've talked about, and then we'll proceed with the UK social enterprises and how to set them up and how to close them. Our viewers, Tuina Daisy Ruhanga Amoti, who is here watching with us today. Thank you for tuning in. Tuina Caroline Birunji, who is also watching. Thank you so much, Caroline, for ever supporting us. We have Patrick Kamese Omuhamba, webale muno tuninga in again. I know you always watch Mr. Dedo talk. I don't know, you have a special interest, especially when he comes on Voice of Bunyoro. That's when I see you. But thank you for tuning in. I'm very happy that you are with us today. Of course, Daisy Martha is watching all the way from Uganda. Thank you, Daisy, for tuning in. Kabalaya Katongole as well, one of our good Munyoro person who is very, very active in Bunyoro Kutara Development Association. Thank you so much, Miss Kabalaya, sorry, for tuning in. Alice at Gonzatenyi, my mother, is also watching as always, supporting us. And of course, we've got Wektini Sawaitu, Emeritus Chair wa BKDA, Hajat Hadija Kisembo Umbabazi, nawe alihamnaitwe hanu na asima muno byona ebyokora. Thank you so much, Abwooli, for accepting to be here with us. Akusima. Mujuni Edward is watching. Thank you, Mujuni, for tuning in as always. And Jole Masebo, thank you so much. She's saying she's one of our advisory board people on the BKDA UK. And she says very informative message you're giving people. Abwooli Akusima. Diana Kemirembe is saying good. Diana Kemirembe is very always with us here, supporting us. And she also will be soon returning on the show to tell us more about mental health. Evangelist Amot Kabalega is also appreciating, saying very inspiring, and continue the good work. Webale muno Mtebezi Waitu Wenjiri. Of course, Miss Daisy Amoti Nawagamba, thanks Mr. Kwesinga for the insight into setting up a social enterprise. The same thing with Alisa Tugonzatenyi. Well done, our roots, keep it up. Very excited to see the young children present. Godfrey Cubs, that was great. Our roots children, they are appreciating. And many other people. Diana D is watching from Leeds. Akusima mwebale kuhereza barungi. Aigabo akiki tukuhereza. We are serving our great nation, Bunyoro, and we are calling upon all the Bunyoros and friends of Bunyoro to come up on the Voice of Bunyoro, and together we can work and bring this great nation and be known across the globe. So, nitubaterera inywe n'abatuuliriza abaina any good topic that you want to come and discuss with us, please get in touch with us. You can also like our page, The Voice Media UK. Go and like it, follow us, and we will be doing amazing work in the coming days and the years to come. Nirira Kalia Bunyoro in the diaspora. Otyo muno Abwooli, I hand over, no questions at the moment, so that means people are listening. So I can hand over back to you. So to tell us how social enterprises can be set in the UK and how they can be closed in the UK. Because you already talked about Bunyoro or Uganda, so we want to talk about the side here where we live.
Very good, thank you. Probably one thing I may want to emphasize as we do all this, as we set up social enterprises both in the UK and Uganda, and as we lead and support communities and people. Remember the topic today, or how I have kind of reframed the topic. It is my story on becoming a social entrepreneur and community leader, developmental leadership traits and concepts. Developmental. Now, why would I say developmental leadership and not only leadership? Because there can only be leadership. But there are people that put themselves in places of leadership or find themselves in places of leadership, and actually they are misleaders. And one of the things, why I've brought this, one of the things that we have to be clear about is to find the right people. And I'm glad when you're talking of BKDA and Bunyoro, you're talking of Bunyoro, Banyoro, and friends of Bunyoro. There might be some people that are probably Bunyoro and they are not necessarily for Bunyoro, or they bring Bunyoro down. There are people that may not be Bunyoro, but actually their aspirations, they support the people of Bunyoro. In other words, when you're trying to get people to work with, don't be parochial. Don't look at these small kind of cliques. I know we talk of tribes, which is fine, that's where we're born, but look at the character of the content, the person you want to work with. That is very key. In our roots, for example, you'll find there is one or two Bunyoro. If it was looking for Bunyoro to work in our roots, you might find them many there. You could find them there, but actually doing a lot of nothing. I'm not saying if they're there and they're developmental, they shouldn't come. The key word is developmental. Yeah?
Talking about, I always have a friend of mine who always calls me as a treasurer of Bunyoro Kitara Development Association. He always calls me every day and tells me, you want people of the same mind, people who share the same goals and values to move Bunyoro Kitara Development Association forward. So it's kind of what you're talking about here. Look for the people with a common goal, people with the same mindset, people who want, you started with the word mindset, so I could assume that's what you're trying to say.
Correct. And that one is very, very, very 61 leadership tips that there is. Who are the people you can work with or can work with you? Not everyone. They have to be people that you share the same vision and you're able to talk and reason together. You don't bulldoze them, they don't bulldoze you. You reason together and develop together. Anyway, so going back to how you set up a social enterprise in the UK, as I said, there are organizations in all cities, in all regions that are commissioned to support the community or individuals that want to start social enterprises. And I can help and support identifying such. As I said, for example, if you're in the Midlands, you would go to ISE, which is Initiative of Social Enterprise. And I think there is a link, something link, is it UK link? And this is in every city. There is a link Birmingham, there is a link London, there will be link Leeds. So you can go there and they will help you start a social enterprise. But as I said, there is a bespoke template of a community interest company constitution, and that's one of the key things is the constitution. So you can get it online. You can go there and key in starting a CIC, community interest company, and it will give you a basic template of a constitution. You use that. As I said, if you want a more complicated constitution, you put in a lot of things there, then yeah, you've got to use what is known as setting up a multi-first community interest company. You may not get that template from the basic online one. You then have got to either use these organizations or if you're good enough, you can also get it online and adopt. So you get it online and adopt it to include your things. And then you have to send it over to the CIC regulator, community interest company regulator, who will assess your constitution, your application, which has a document. It is CIC, is it 1336 document that kind of illustrates your aims, your objectives, why you think there is a need for that organization, why you think you cannot work with other organizations. Of course, you'll always find reasons why. Then you submit that, and it is then assessed. You don't need any money. That's why it is called company limited by guarantee. You don't put in any shares if you have to go by company limited by guarantee. Or if you want, you can put there a nominal. For example, when our roots was starting, there was a nominal £1 that you put there. It's just £1 to start the organization. So you don't need any money. Don't worry about that. And the most important thing are some of these leadership traits that we'll be talking about, including the structures. Setting up, of course, is not easy. I'm not saying it's easy, but it is relatively easy compared when you start walking the talk, when you start operating. You must have the real structures, the right structures, that, including leadership, that is going to help you deliver your aims, your objectives, and support the community that you need to help and support. And of course, that will include all these leaderships that I have, that probably one time we'll talk about. But in any case, don't worry, if you don't invite me back to talk about those leadership tips, I'm going to produce a booklet that will have these 61, it was supposed to be 100 leadership tips that you can use to support you to be what you want to be. You don't just fall in.
As you've just told us about this leadership, I mean, this how to set up social enterprise. As I've told our viewers, this is a 1-hour talk. We cannot say everything, and Mr. Dedo cannot explain. He's going to write, give us the transcript, the script he's used today, and we'll put it out on our website and probably share it in people's emails for all of us to know what we need to do. Thank you for giving us the tips on how to start social enterprises in the UK and in Uganda, and you also talked about how to close them and what is expected. So I just want you straight away to start talking about the leadership traits, because they are very important. Now that you have talked about the social enterprises in Bunyoro or in Uganda, in the UK, just talk about the leadership tips and traits that you have for us today. And of course, there are many, there are 61, but we can do the most important ones that you want to tell us today before we close down for our show today. Omunyoro Abwooli.
That's fine. I will start with trait number 18. So in trait number 18, that's what I started talking about, being the fountain of honor. When I went for 3 hours looking for these children to deliver what I promised in the writing and reading club on Friday, I was just justifying that. And I knew it's going to be one of the things I'm going to talk about today. To illustrate how and what a leader should be. So, fountain of honor, this means high standards and various executive competencies that you're expected to have. These standards relate to ethics, legal compliance, professional standards and codes, and exemplary conduct, like what just happened today. I've just illustrated to the children. To prove such a honor, leaders are given distinguished titles. That's why we're given titles like a chairperson, a chair, chief exec, a senior leader, honorable member of parliament, His Excellency, Her Majesty, His Worship, chief operating officer. Now, these things, they are not just given for the sake of. And when you see people that are breaking their promises, that are arrogating the constitution that they have set. They have put standards there, but they are breaking them in order to kind of fulfill their own personal gains. Actually, they are dishonorables. They are misleaders. They don't have honor in them. And therefore, they have missed one of the key leadership tips and traits they should have, to be the fountain of honor. And that's why they say, my word is my bond. Just the word. But people even break promises they have put in writing. They break constitution. They throw them away. They tear them apart. Yeah. Let our words be our bonds. And that is very important. Tip number 17. Yeah. You see now I'm jumping, but we want to get some of the key tips. So tip number 17. Somehow I've talked about you cannot have an effective organization without the right structures. Now listen, God or the supernatural, whatever you want to call it, or nature has set a precedence of structure in human by giving us different functions or functionalities. We've got a skeleton, that's a structure. We've got senses, the 5 senses. We've got body organs inside us. So it is for organizations and political bodies, for politicians. Every credible organization should have the right structures, pillars, and organs. These organs and structures ensure there is a systemic approach and protects leaders just in case, and protects organizations. It ensures compliance in law, ethical demands, professional demands, and the major enforcement demands that come with the things that we do and the guidelines. Without the right pillars, a house does not stand. A house, in case of tremors. And so it is that without the right structures, an organization will be shaky at best. So at best it will be shaky, but at worst it will crumble when things come to shake it. Such organs and structures are things like a solid, technically informed and actively tuned board, that is a board, the right board, or the cabinet in terms of politics, to have the right reporting structures that ensure quality and continuity, and of course quality assurance, and solid frameworks that we work by, protocols, policies, and procedures that make a robust organization stand the test of time without withering, melting, or collapsing. A good leader should make sure that there are right structures and that these structures are evaluated periodically, what we may call structural audit. In the absence of such structures, even if you are the strongest leader in the world, you put things in your head, you are not building a legacy. You are not building an effective organization. You're not building an effective country. Actually, you are sinking it. You sink.
So you've told us this fountain of honor, the right structures and pillars of an organization. You've told us trait number 18, trait number 17, and I am sorry we only have 2 minutes. And in these 2 minutes, I want you to give our viewers your last word. You could just read the other traits that you wanted them to know about, and then maybe you'll give us your paper that you used. I keep saying this because I know there are so many things that you have left out that our viewers would need to read and understand. You're trying to explain these things, but unfortunately, we only have 1 hour to do this. So in your last word, you could probably summarize the traits that you wanted to talk about today, and we will definitely invite you again to talk about only the leadership traits. Abwooli.
My last word is going to be trait number 1. So in trait number 1, if you are a leader and you think all is well, and people are convincing you, including your hangers on, that all is well and that nothing needs changing, then you'll sink with your organization, because organizations have to be evaluated, and the right leader. Now, I will hear, I've spoken a lot of English for the benefit of my colleagues that are non-Bunyoro, but I will say one word in Bunyoro. Abanyoro bagamba eriso ly'omukulu lirora hakwiragura. So you can only be wise if you see something that needs changing in an organization. In the absence of that, you are no leader. That's my last word.
What is that last trait? Just summarize it so I can write it here, because I, as a leader or aspiring leader, I need to know it. I know fountain of honor, right structures and pillars, and many other things, as you've explained that number is 17. Number one is trait.
If you are a leader and you think all is well in your organization, and everyone, including your hangers on, you see people that want to please you, are telling you that everything is right in the organization, then you don't know what you're doing, because a leader has to be finding things they're going to improve. And that's why I quoted the Bunyoro saying that the eye of a wise person, the eye of an old person sees the things that are wrong for purposes of making sure they are changed, they are rectified.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Omukuru Dedo. With those 3 traits that you've left us with today, I'm sure all the leaders out there, all the leaders who are viewing us and listening to us tonight have picked up those 3 traits that you've given us today, or leadership tips, and they will put them in action. I will repeat them. Fountain of honor, right structures and pillars, things. Every leader must look out for things to improve in an organization that is leading. That's how I saw the number 1 trait. And if you don't do that, and you think your organization is perfect, everything is going well, then you're not a true leader. Webale muno Abwooli, n'obugambo obwo bw'otugambire today. I'm sure our viewers will have taken a lot from this talk. It is a 1-hour talk, but we have learned amazingly, very amazing knowledge we've gotten from you tonight. And I am confirming to you that we will be inviting you again back on the Voice of Bunyoro to tell us the 66 leadership tips. This time, I don't want you to discuss them or whatever. I just want you to tell them to us as they are. And then we will go and read your book and we'll get to know what they all mean. Ninyenda kumaliriza by acknowledging some more viewers who have just joined us, and then we will close the show. Alfred K. Godfrey, I don't know where he's coming from, but he's left his contact, ISSF. I don't know what it is about, but Alfred K. Godfrey, thank you for tuning in. And please continue following us and liking our page, The Voice Show Media UK. Omukuru Magezi Godwin, thank you so much for tuning in. Abantu bona bakusiima ebintu byonna byobagambire, and they are excited to have been on the show. And Mot Deize akugamba tip number 1, awesome. Tip number 1 is awesome, and I do believe it is awesome. Mwebale muno Abanyoro n'Abanyoro Kate and friends of Bunyoro. Omukuru Dedo, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to talk to you today, to give us the tips of leadership, to tell us how we can set up social enterprises, both here in the UK and in Uganda, where we come from, and I guess the whole of Africa, because I think everything kind of looks similar. Webale muno kutuhamu knowledge egyo. Knowledge is power. We've got to know this knowledge. If you do not know anything, then you're somewhere your life will never improve. So we've all got to continue looking for knowledge, reading, learning, listening to people like you, so that we get to know all this amazing information that you've given us today. Nabanyoro Katina, our friends, and all of us here who are listening, I guess we have the same mindset, and we are all looking to develop ourselves. And we will be inviting Mkuru Dedo to come back again and tell us the tips of leadership. Ninyenda kumaliriza show enu ninsima inywena. All those of you who have tuned in, thank you so much for continuous support you give to the Voice Show Media, and especially the Voice of Bunyoro in the Diaspora. Ninsima muno those who support this show, that is BKDA UK, Rise Up Community Inclusion. Kani ninyenda nokusima ba colleagues bange that are with me today here in the show. Omukuru Arali, chair wa BKD, vice chair wa BKDA, na Omukuru JJ Atenyi, the man called J, who Alombioma. Thank you so much for that amazing work you are helping us with here at the Voice of Bunyoro. We appreciate. Ninyenda kubagambira that next week, same time, 6:30 p.m., we'll be returning with yet another amazing guest, all the way from Uganda, who will continue telling us more about the series of Kabalega, the great king that ever ruled the Bunyoro Kitara Kingdom. Please tune in same time, 6:30, kandi nituija kuba ntuongera na shows ezinde zigendo maiso hano hairaka ya Voice of Bunyoro in the Diaspora. It's Caroline Ajuna Kibukatenyi, the host, and have a lovely week ahead of us. Mukama abalinde, and please keep safe. COVID is real. Keep safe and keep following government regulations wherever you are, whether you're in Africa, whether you're in Europe, whether you are in the US. Please continue following government regulations on COVID-19. Nituija kuba turangana next week. God bless you all and have a lovely week ahead of us. Mutyo muno ntugenda kubalekera ekizina. Please don't go off. We are going to play ekizina kya Omukuru Arali Magambo Owatoro Kingdom. Ekirale, that is legacy that you leave behind when you eventually join our Creator in heaven. Mutyomuno, enjoy the song, and we'll see you next week. All rights, copyrights are reserved to Arali Kigambo of Toro Kingdom. Enjoy the song. Rali Kurungi.
Mwebale muno kuhuliriza eiraka lya Bunyoro kuruga mu Diaspora. Until next time, mwikale kurungi. Jamani, Omu Uganda, amahanga gagiro rahoga, atuchi
yali kyokuloolaho Galuhuma yali university ya Kitara hati mu matendekero abayitunga lw'ebyobulemi n'obutegeki Munuka gali matwale Embuga hazitangatanganira emihanda yona noho yayolekeza Ekirale kyawe kiraha Ubwo ekirale bwinazi bubi Nekimanyisa polifano hera Ekirale Ekyomwe bembezi wawe Ekirale kyatoro kikaburanka hamwewe mutumbe Ekirale kyokutunga mwenge giyona gali masokente Ebyamakane ebibanja Nyine kana kagongo kona Baitu watino hura mpikiza ndabe Omukampu n'omubisenyi Iwe nk'omuntu Tembura kandyo yombekenju Osomesa abana byala emiti Handika ebitabo otere bizine Ekirale ky'obumanzi Ekinyakulinde hanga Abanyamwenge zali njokizibwa na muro Ekirale kyabwe senkulu Ekirale kyawe kiraha Ubwo ekirale bwinazi bubi Nekimanyisa polifano hera Ekirale Ekyomwe bembezi wawe Ekirale kyatoro kikaburanka hamwewe mukombe ekirale Oli mwebembezi weziringire kizibu kimaleho Kyoleke ekirale kyawe Abantu bakimanyire Okamanze ochungule kitweka bazamazima tule kube kutero tasora kwedimira Okawerekerezi hanga Kwenulisiriza nguba kuheba hasa kukabembe Hukunosemeza abantu yombekeze ngudo Runde chombe kuba kwitukege Sakira abantu enkura natemo Rugenda bakukura Ekirale kyawe kiraha Ubwo ekirale bwinazi bubi Nekimanyisa polifano hera Ekirale Ekyomwe bembezi wawe Ekirale kyatoro kikaburanka hamwewe mukombe ekirale Bagenzi bange busaho kintu kibi nko kuba mwebembezi Mbakwetawo ekitinisa Okaruga mu ntebeki Otaine kirale barakwijukiraho kamukwebembera kwawe Ekirale kyeka yanyu Ekirale kyekika kyanyu Ekirale ky'oruganda rwawe kiraha mugenzi wange kyekaguli Oruganda orutaine ekirale Kurahire ruba rucweki Ihanga litafiire yokombeka ekirale bantu inye ligoromoka Ekirale kyawe kiraha Ubwo ekirale bwinazi bubi Nekimanyisa polifano hera Ekirale Ekyomwe bembezi wawe Ekirale kyatoro kikaburanka hamwewe mutumbe Ekirale kyawe kiraha Otaine yombeke ekirale Abana bawe n'abayijukuru ekibalisangaho nensi ekakimanyira Nda yawe kigambo kanyenyigire mu kirale ekyokuzina Ninyiruki abantu munuka Okombeka ekirale Nyina okunira nti bundi bantaroho Kigambo bali kinyejukiraho kandi mutabani wa kijuma Omukika kiri nadikahwa Bana banyamwe